Welcome to Reality is Undefeated. I'm at Gatewood. Thank you for tuning in. How do you quantify growth? Is it by inches, time, or experiences? Or by knowledge or wisdom gained? A combination of a few, all? I'm not asking in general, I'm asking you specifically. How do you quantify growth? I grew from 5'1" to 5'8" in the 8th grade. The seconds, minutes, hours say I was 13 years old. But my experiences say I was much older than that, as I'd already engaged in sexual activity, committed crimes beyond petty theft, been arrested, and spent a half a year on probation. That stung because from 7th to 8th grade, I improved a lot on the ball court, but I couldn't go out for the team because every other Wednesday, I had to pull up on Mrs. Short, my probation officer, a middle-aged white woman who threatened to lock me up for every little thing when we first talked, but loved me and hated to see me go when the probation ended. My slowest growth spurt would be in the knowledge category. I spent elementary school on AB honor roll and GATE programs and being voted most likely to succeed. But then I fell off. Other than the Boxcar Children and a few Goosebumps books, every other book I read, A Half a Moon Inn, The Girl Who Owned the City, Great Expectations, to name a few that I could remember, was only read to complete a book report, of which I half behind completed just so I wouldn't get an F. I was supposed to graduate in 2003, but due to my poor attitude, my lack of determination, my master ability to procrastinate, my Hall of Fame level of laziness, I didn't receive my diploma until 2011. I may have read 5 books from the time I last stepped on a high school campus up until about 5 years ago. I've read around 30 since. And while it's still not an extraordinary pace, I've read or listened to well over 5 just this year alone. I've always been told that I was wise for my age, leading me to believe that the area that I was most accelerated in was the wisdom category. But this has also come by way of experience. I've told countless stories on this channel of the things I've seen and experienced in life, from the violence that I witnessed as a young child, to seeing my best friend get handed 6 life sentences as a teen, to hearing what it sounds like when bullets are flying by your head as a young adult being shot at, to the pain that I put in my young wife's eyes as I struggled to be faithful to her. If there is one thing I am very familiar with in life, it's mistakes and the consequences that follow. I only had to touch the stove once to learn a lesson. While some call that wisdom, I call it being well-versed on the many different stove models that exist. So although I've viewed the world from the same walking vantage point for a number of years, I have never stopped growing. I did a podcast a few years ago, and if you heard me talk then compared to now, you'll notice how much I grew. I used to curse with every expression, including on this channel. You guys have bear witness to how much I scaled back on that. I grew again. I had a debate online a few days ago. Looked up some of the information that was thrown at me. I grew again. One of my listeners quoted Barbara Sizemore, told me the speech and what it was about. I looked it up, listened, and grew again. I just finished the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass this morning. You're damn right. I grew again. They say if you show me someone who's the same as they were 5 years ago, you'll show me someone who hasn't grown in 5 years. I know a lot of people like this. I love a few dearly. A defeat is only a loss if you fail to learn something from it. So when I pinned a comment from a brother apologizing for the role he played in helping to destroy our community during the crack era, to show his accountability and to offer some sort of healing for those that were affected firsthand, and I read some of the responses from those of you who failed to acknowledge his growth, it only showed me how much room some of you have available to grow. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like there's a lot of people who are envious of the growth that others have made. It's as if they desired to make the same mistakes in life but never did, and so they want you to pay forever for the mistakes that you've made. As if you've gotten away with it. As if you haven't felt tremendous guilt over the years, or did time behind something, or lost someone you truly love behind this mistake. It's as if your growth from that mistake was as simple as hitting a light switch. Like you didn't have things you had to deal with or heal from to move on from that. Which brings me to the reason why most of you clicked on this video. A young woman named Angela White, who we all know as Blac Chyna. I don't need to list any of her mistakes. They're all well documented. We all know who she's been with, had children by, the family she's associated with, the lawsuits, the OnlyFans, the everything. She's lived a hell of a life. And for whatever reason, she decided that she's going to make a change for the better. And unlike most people, she's not doing this behind the scenes. She decided to do it out in the open. That should be applauded, not denigrated. We should applaud that woman for getting her plastic surgery reversed and being vocal about why she did it, especially when countless women are losing their lives behind these surgeries. We can't talk down on her for getting the reversal and talk down on the women that are dying during the process. We got to choose one. Is it black girl lost or shorty owe you for ice? Which one is it? We should applaud her for deleting her OnlyFans account and being vocal about it, because a lot of women are ruining their reputations behind creating these accounts, which then ruins their chances at having healthy relationships. As men, we say we want women who are wifey material. The women say there's plenty of them out there. Well, Miss White and others that are speaking against OnlyFans will only help keep that pool filled. We should applaud a woman who's on a journey of sobriety and being vocal about it, because we know what it looks like when people are dependent on drugs, prescriptions, in her case alcohol, etc. We should applaud a person for speaking on their walk of faith, because there's many amongst us whose lives and outlook on life would improve if they did the same. When I get on this camera, I'm not speaking from a position of being holier than thou. I'm doing the same exact thing that I ask everyone else to do, which is to use your experiences and your mistakes to help a young brother or sister avoid making the same mistakes in life. When I did the video saying stop lying to our youth, what Blac Chyna is doing is exactly what I was asking for. Who's more qualified to speak on relationships? Myself, the person who's been with his wife for 19 years and made a bunch of mistakes? Or the person who's been married the same amount of time and hasn't made mistakes at all? It really doesn't matter, because the person who's been married half that time, went through a lot, got divorced, and is now single has us both trumped. They can speak on so much more. A lot of you have never touched the hot stove, and it shows. And that's good for you. The problem lies within your failure to acknowledge why you've never touched the hot stove. It wasn't because you weren't inquisitive, but rather because someone in your life had touched the hot stove before and they told you not to, so you didn't. But we need to realize that not everyone has had someone in their lives who has touched the hot stove, so that lesson was never passed down to them. This is why we need this type of change done out in the open. Blac Chyna is letting those who listen to her know the stove is hot, don't touch it. We learn from our mistakes during defeat, not from our perfections during victory. You know, for somebody who calls Nas the greatest, I sure do quote a lot of Jay. I'm about to drop another Hove line on you. Hove on that new ish. Ninjas like how come? Ninjas want my old ish. Buy my old album. That being said, I'm on to the next one.